Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for a story about the grand reunion event that took place at Fort Hays. Then join us for a story about grasshoppers and their history. And we'll have a poem from Ron Wilson and end with a look at a video about the color green and its relation to the state. Stay with us. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Well, hello again. I'm Frank, and this is Around Kansas, the show on TV and on cable that talks about why Kansas is a great place to live, work, play, and visit. And of course, I'm the host here in Topeka, Kansas, from the Wren Internet Radio station. We play oldies of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, so tune it in, wrendigitalmedia.com. There, that's my commercial for the day. Deb Goodrich is out in western Kansas, and she's going to have some interesting stories today. Good grief. Here we are, almost through the middle of September. Can you believe it? Have you got your Christmas decorations up yet? Oh, that's right. We need to get through Halloween and Thanksgiving. You know, here's an idea. Put up Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas decorations and kind of take down the ones that no longer apply after the holiday passes. How's that? Sound like an idea? Actually, I know some people that are doing that. Makes for interesting decoration here in the fall. The fall colors. In Kansas, this is a wonderful, wonderful time because the trees are changing, the weather gets a little bit more brisk, and I guess you can understand that fall is probably my favorite time of the year. Talked about the Flint Hills too, and if you can take a drive over through the Flint Hills of Kansas here in late September and October, you're going to see some fantastic colors. So anyway, and of course, fall festivals going on everywhere. In other shows, I've talked about the Renaissance Festival in Bonner Springs, Kansas, which is going on. But I just learned about another festival here in Kansas, and if you don't mind, I'll read about it because I just Googled it. And it's the Flint Hills Shakespeare Festival, and it's in St. Mary's. It's a community-based initiative focused on providing small-town classical outdoor theater and a village festival experience to local and regional patrons under the stars of Northeast Kansas. I understand they do have mead there. You know what mead is? Yeah, that's it's wine made from honey. It's good stuff. Anyway, each fall, local volunteers transform a wood on the edge of town, affectionately known as Sir William's Hollow, into a rustic outdoor Shakespearean amphitheater and family-friendly village festival. Sounds like fun. The festival was established in 2010 and has continued to grow into a successful annual event with over 50 food, game, and artisan booths spread through the forest that features a full-length Shakespearean show nightly. Last year's show and village saw over 6,000 local and regional patrons attend over the 2 weekends. And so you need to hurry because this is the last weekend coming up this weekend. Sounds like kind of a mini Renaissance festival, but it does have a theme. So plan on the Shakespeare Festival over in St. Mary's. Sounds like fun. I think I'll go because I especially like mead. Anyway, Deb has some interesting stories, and I'm sure one of them is about wildlife. Now, we're not talking about her wildlife out in western Kansas, but wildlife that is actual animals and things like that. She's been doing a series of those because western Kansas, of course, is quite prolific with all kinds of wildlife that you don't normally see in the eastern part of the state. So anyway, it's going to be an interesting show today. We have a couple of programs that you may have seen before, but they're good enough that we figured we'd put them back on for you. So anyway, after you see some messages from our sponsors, Deb will take it out in western Kansas. Stay tuned.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandring with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
On the first Sunday in September, Lieutenant Colonel retired D.K. Clark addressed those assembled under a tent on the grounds of Old Fort Hays, now a state historic site. As mounted reenactors portraying the Forsyth Scouts waited to the side, others were scattered among the crowd. D.K. described 1868 in Kansas, and even the nation, as a time of darkness, terrible years of all-out warfare, now evolving into even more war. He told of the wars in Europe and how so many immigrants came to America out of desperation only to find signs that said no Irish need apply, no Germans need apply, no Italians need apply, and so on. Hope and promise, D.K. said, lay to the west. He told of the people hoping to settle the western reaches of Kansas, wishing to have families, build farms, ranches, and businesses. To those people, the candle in the darkness was Major George Forsyth and his scouts. He compared them to Leonidas and the 300 soldiers who faced overwhelming odds centuries ago for the greater goal of defending their country. D.K. spoke from the heart of a soldier, honoring his fellow soldiers. The Kansas troubadour, Dave Zerfus, has captured many moments of Kansas history in his ballads. On that Sunday morning, he performed two of his original songs, Roman Nose and Island of Refuge, both inspired by the events at the Battle of Beecher Island. Roman Nose was the Cheyenne warrior killed in the battle at Beecher Island in September 1868, already a legend by the time he died. The lyrics include the words, "No one knows if we'll see your likes again." His other song, Island of Refuge, is told from the point of view of the Army Scouts, pinned down on that island in the Arickaree. One line of the song expressed poignantly the plight of the men. "My God, why have you deserted us to the howling Cheyenne?" As Zerf commented, for the dreams of the settlers to be realized, the dreams of the Plains tribes were crushed. Living historian Marla Matkin read the short bios of each scout and recognized the descendants present. The day before, the second enlistment of the scouts was reenacted by the historic blockhouse on post. General Phil Sheridan was portrayed by Wayne Mentling of Nebraska. The controversial Little Phil, as Sheridan was called, authorized the formation of the Forsyth Scouts. A crowd gathered to watch history in the remaking, and the photo taking went on for more than half an hour. Site Director Tammy Younger, Friends President Tatum Sprague, and Treasurer Jay Burns, along with volunteers, have been preparing for weeks for what was a beautiful and meaningful weekend for all who attended. This was the second weekend of the commemoration of the Forsyth Scouts and the Battle of Beecher Island. Last weekend, in festivities at the Fort Wallace Museum, members of the Roman Nose family were on hand as a lifelike sculpture of the Cheyenne warrior was unveiled. Next weekend, the month-long commemoration moves to the Beecher Island Battle Memorial and the town of Ray, Colorado, where the reunion of Scouts and their descendants has been going on for more than a century. For more information, find the Grand Reunion of Forsyth Scouts on Facebook or email Deb at the address on screen. Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
With nearly 100 years of broadcasting excellence, Ren Radio is now live on the internet playing hit songs of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Join Jack Diamond, Mac Collins, Les Glenn, Frankie C., Antonio Barber, Wings Callahan, and the real Don Steele for some of the best music ever recorded. Hear it at rendigitalmedia.com or get the Ren Oldies Radio app in Play Store or App Store. And tell Alexa, good times and great oldies on Ren Internet Radio.
Summer is busy at Tarwater Farm and Home. We have just about everything you'll need for your summer projects, and we're consistently competitively priced. Tarwaters can help make your grass and garden grow, and we have a huge variety of equipment to cut it. If you have a farm, Tarwaters has the products and equipment to keep it going strong. And our expanded parking lot will make it even more convenient to shop. So come see us at Tarwater Farm and Home in Topeka.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandring with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
150 years ago, 50 men rode from Kansas into the Colorado Territory where hundreds of Cheyennes waited. They met on a fork of the Arickaree River and made history. Join us as we retrace their steps at sites in both states, Forts Harker, Hayes, and Wallace, the Beecher Island Battleground and Ray, Colorado Museum, with added events in Lincoln. Join us for the grand reunion of the Forsyth Scouts.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley. In July 1874, the skies darkened and the hordes descended, devastating everything in their path. They sounded like a violent summer storm. They ate crops, but they also ate the tools used to raise them. They ate the wool off of sheep's backs and the clothes off of humans. People literally waded through the creatures inches deep on the ground. Locomotives could not get traction because the insects made the rails too slippery. They stayed for a couple of days to a week, just long enough to devour everything. Then they rose on the wind, just as they had come. Those who suffered most were the newly arrived settlers in the western areas of the state. They needed grain for next year's crops and to feed their work animals. They also needed provisions and clothing to make it through the coming winter. Governor Thomas Osborne called a special session of the legislature, which convened on September 15, 1874, hoping to find a way to help Kansans survive the calamity and relieve the destruction. The legislature approved $73,000 in bonds to provide aid. The plea for help went out across America. The rest of the nation responded to pleas for aid by sending money and supplies, which were often hauled free of charge by the railroads. Soon aid for the destitute Kansans began to arrive. Railroads provided free transportation of the barrels, boxes, and bales of supplies, such as beans, pork, and rice. America's farmers even donated rail cars full of barley and corn to assist Kansans with next year's planting.
Welcome to Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in Oakley, Kansas on I-70 at exit 76. I-70, after all, is America's Main Street, and we're right here on Main Street for you. Now that I'm an Oakley resident, I still come in almost every day, and I sit and listen to the conversations of the people around me. You know, the guys who are talking about the big elk they just bagged, or the folks who are taking their kid to college for the first time. People just traveling up and down the highway. Real people, just like you and me. And they find just what I find here, real people to serve them. There's history, there's scenery. We hope you'll stop and see us soon. Welcome to Oakley. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. The wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. He said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
The reaction we get most often from visitors to the Fort Wallace Museum is wow. With the addition of the Ray Pump Organ Collection, the wows just got louder. Visit any time, but mark your calendars for the weekend of September 8th, when we join in the grand reunion of Forsyth Scouts with an encampment, entertainment, and special tributes. Better yet, join the Guardians of Fort Wallace to be a part of the fun all year long.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
One of the great summer traditions and fun things to do in the summertime in Kansas is rodeo. This is a salute to bullfighters and barrelmen. When you go down to the rodeo, there's folks you see as part of the show. They're a vital part of the rodeo's plan. I speak of the bullfighters and the barrelmen. They wear a painted smile and a floppy hat, suspenders and goofy pants at that. Their humor makes you smile. It's not deadpan, those funny-looking bullfighters and the barrelman. But when it's time for the rough stock events, it's them down inside the arena fence. If a rider's hung up or a cowboy's in a jam, he'll get saved by the bullfighters and the barrelman. Those bullfighters put their lives on the line to buy a downed cowboy some precious time. They're praised by the cowboys and loved by the fans, those professional bullfighters and the barrelman. Comedian and athlete rolled into one. They help the cowboys as part of the fun. If they can't dodge a bull, then no one can. I speak of the bullfighters and the barrelman. So let's salute this brave hero who displays his skills at the rodeo. Thanks for protecting cowboys since rodeo began. Those brave bullfighters and the barrelman.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
This is one of my favorite bits that I make. The name I give this bit is a Derby bit. I had a roan head horse that was running through the bridle with the chain bit, and I made this bit here. It really worked good on that horse. I sent this bit to Donnie McNeese, who breaks in cattle for Jeff Smith and Ike Cox, and I said, ride this bit on a lot of horses, see how you get along with it. They did. He said, Bull, that's really a good bit. Fits a lot of horses. Then I give this bit to my good friend Brent Wright, who I make bits for. And I said, see how this bit will work on a reining horse. I call him up a couple months later. I said, Brent, how you getting along with that bit? And he said, good. He said, you don't need it right this minute, do you? And I said, no. He said, good, because I'm down here in Texas and I just won a big futurity riding that bit. And when Brent got home, he gave me the buckle that he won the futurity with. I'm really proud of that buckle that Brent Wright gave it to me, and also that he got along so good with my bit.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses in rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery. And so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously. So I'm tickled to death with the results, and I'd recommend this process to anyone.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
It ain't easy being green. Green is the color of March, of Ireland, of St. Patrick's Day, of clover and leprechaun suits. It is the color of Christmas, of holly and ivy and evergreens. It is the color of Kermit the Frog, the Swamp Thing, and the Incredible Hulk. It is the color of common things, like grass and leaves. It is the color of rare things, like emeralds and jade. It is the color of tropical fruit, like limes. It is the color of temperate climate fruits, like Granny Smith apples. It is the color of caterpillars, lizards, and moths. It is the color of the birds and snakes that eat them. It is the color of malachite and moss, grapes and olives, jungles and forests, vines and stems. Green is the color of money, of envy, of greed. But it is also the color of life, the color created through the process of photosynthesis by which the world is fed. Perhaps no other color screams so loudly of spring of new life springing from the earth. When Kansas fields turn green after the stubble is burned away, the color is almost blinding. Dry creek and riverbeds turn green, hinting at the water buried beneath the dry ground. From the time of the Egyptians, green has been the color of rebirth and regeneration. Green is the color of hope and promise. Here's wishing you a verdant spring.
Well, happy September. I'm Frank. She's dead. And we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of